New York never noticed people like Emma Carter. It swallowed them whole. Waitresses with aching feet, forced smiles, and rent overdue by 3 days. She worked the graveyard shift at a narrow diner wedged between a pawn shop and a pharmacy in Midtown Manhattan. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead like tired insects. Coffee burned on the hot plate. Conversations came and went, but Emma stayed. 26 years old, already exhausted by life. Her manager, Rick Doyle, liked reminding her she was replaceable. He shaved minutes off paychecks, barked orders loud enough for customers to hear, and laughed when she protested. Plenty of girls would kill for this job, he'd say. Emma learned silence was safer than pride. The old man arrived every morning at exactly 6:10 a.m. Same coat, gray, worn at the cuffs. Same slow walk, same seat by the window. He never ordered food, just black coffee. He counted coins carefully, hands trembling slightly, like every dollar mattered. "Morning," Emma would say. He nodded once. That was all. His name, according to the receipt, was Arthur Hale. Most servers ignored him. He tipped almost nothing. Customers who lingered without spending were bad for business. But Emma noticed things others didn't. How he stared outside as if watching a life he no longer belonged to. How he flinched when people raised their voices. How loneliness hung around him heavier than his coat. One morning, she saw him quietly return 3/4 back into his pocket before paying. He hesitated, then pushed the coins back anyway. Something twisted inside her chest. After that, Emma began paying the difference herself. At first, it was small, 50 cents, $1. She'd ring the coffee as discounted or cover it with leftover tips. Arthur never noticed, or maybe he pretended not to. Weeks turned into months. Winter came hard that year. Snow buried the sidewalks. One morning, Arthur's hands shook so badly he spilled coffee across the counter. Rick stormed over. "If you can't hold a cup, don't come in here wasting space." The entire diner went quiet. Arthur lowered his eyes, humiliation folding him inward. Emma stepped between them. "I slept. It was my fault." Rick glared but walked away. Arthur looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time spoke more than a word. "Thank you." His voice sounded unused, fragile. After that, small conversations began, fragments, weather, books, the way New York used to feel quieter. He never spoke about family, never about work. Only once did he say, softly, "People stop seeing you when you get old." Emma didn't know how to answer, so she refilled his coffee instead. The morning he didn't come, she felt it immediately. The empty stool looked wrong. Day 2 passed, then 3. A week later, a man in a dark suit entered the diner asking for her by name. Customers stared as he handed her an envelope sealed in thick cream paper. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said. Loss? Emma opened the letter with trembling fingers. Arthur Hale had died peacefully in his apartment. Her chest tightened unexpectedly. She hadn't realized how much space the quiet old man occupied in her routine, in her heart. Then she saw the next line. "You are requested to attend the reading of Mr. Hale's will." Confusion followed her all the way to a polished law office overlooking Central Park. The room smelled expensive. Lawyers sat stiffly. Across from her were 2 sharply dressed strangers, a man and a woman whose expressions hardened the moment Emma entered. "Who is she?" the woman whispered. The attorney began reading. "Arthur Hale, retired investment founder. Estimated estate value, several $100 million." Emma stopped breathing. The majority of assets were left to Emma Carter. Silence exploded. "That's impossible," the man snapped. "I'm his son." The attorney continued calmly. Arthur's written statement was read aloud. She was the only one who treated me like a human when I had nothing left but time. Kindness without expectation is rarer than wealth. I leave my fortune to the person who reminded me I still existed. Emma felt the room spin. She hadn't done anything extraordinary. Just coffee. Just kindness. Outside, reporters already waited. Headlines spread fast. Waitress inherits millionaire fortune. Rick Doyle called her that night, suddenly polite. "Your family here, Emma. We always believed in you." She hung up before he finished. But wealth didn't bring peace. Arthur's children contested the will immediately. Lawyers circled like vultures. Online strangers accused her of manipulation. And then she discovered something that changed everything. Among Arthur's belongings was a locked file box labeled simply, "For Emma, when you are ready to understand." Inside were documents, contracts, letters, financial records, evidence of betrayal. Arthur Hale hadn't lost his fortune to bad luck. He had been systematically pushed out of his own company years earlier, manipulated by his business partner and his own son, Marcus Hale. Assets transferred legally but immorally, reputation destroyed, isolation engineered. They hadn't just taken his money, they erased him. Emma sat alone in her apartment, papers spread across the floor, rage slowly replacing grief. Arthur hadn't been lonely by accident, he had been abandoned, and the people trying to take everything from her now were the same ones who had broken him. For the first time in her life, Emma Carter felt something dangerous grow inside her. Not anger, purpose. Wealth changed how people listened to Emma, but it didn't change who she was. At least, that's what she told herself. Marcus Hale appeared constantly on television, polished, confident, CEO of Hale Urban Development, a company buying aging apartment buildings and forcing out low-income tenants through legal pressure. Profitable, ruthless, untouchable. Emma watched interviews late into the night. She saw Arthur's eyes in Marcus's face, but none of the softness. The documents Arthur left revealed everything. Shell companies, coercive buyouts, signatures obtained when Arthur was already mentally exhausted and grieving his wife's death. Legal, but cruel. Emma's lawyers advised settlement. "Walk away," they said. "You've already won." But she remembered Arthur counting coins for coffee. Winning didn't feel complete. Revenge whispered quietly, patient, intelligent, cold. She didn't attack Marcus publicly. Instead, she invested. Slowly, strategically, Emma purchased minority shares in companies tied to Hale Urban Development, quiet acquisitions through intermediaries. Weeks turned into months. Marcus never noticed. Why would he? She was just the waitress. At night, doubt clawed at her. Arthur valued kindness. Was she betraying his memory by seeking justice? Some mornings she almost stopped. Then she reread his letters. Not angry letters, sad ones. Loneliness isn't silence, it's knowing someone chose not to care. Emma realized revenge wasn't about destruction, it was about truth. The turning point came during a shareholder meeting Marcus assumed would be routine. Emma walked into the glass tower wearing a simple navy suit. Conversations froze as recognition spread. Marcus smirked when he saw her. "Looking for another handout?" She said nothing. The vote began. Then the disclosures were presented. Financial irregularities, ethical violations, concealed transactions tied to Arthur's removal years earlier. Emma had spent months assembling evidence legally, meticulously. The board turned on Marcus within minutes. Stock collapsed. Investigations opened. Marcus's confidence cracked for the first time. Afterward, he confronted her privately. "You ruined me," he hissed. Emma studied him quietly. "No, you ruined him." For a moment, anger faded from his face. replaced with something like fear. "You think he loved you?" Marcus said bitterly. "You were charity." The words struck deep. Emma almost doubted herself, until she remembered Arthur's voice thanking her for spilled coffee. Revenge didn't feel victorious, it felt heavy. Marcus resigned within weeks. Lawsuits followed. His empire unraveled under scrutiny he had long avoided. Justice, not violence. Still, Emma felt no triumph, only exhaustion. Days later, the attorney called again. "There's one final letter Mr. Hale asked us to deliver after the estate settled." Emma opened it alone. Arthur's handwriting trembled across the page. "Emma, if you were reading this, you probably discovered the truth about my son. I knew you would. I didn't leave you my fortune to punish anyone. I left it to someone who still understood mercy. Revenge feels like justice when you are hurting, but justice without compassion becomes another kind of cruelty. I arranged for you to work at that diner years ago through a charity placement program I funded. I watched from afar long before you knew me. I wanted to believe kindness still existed without reward. You proved it did. Whatever you choose next will define not my legacy, but yours." Emma lowered the letter slowly. The revelation stunned her. Arthur had known her before she ever noticed him. This wasn't fate, it was faith. Weeks later, Emma sold most of the estate's luxury holdings. She created housing programs protecting elderly tenants from displacement, the exact opposite of Marcus's business. Reporters called it redemption. Emma never used that word. One morning, she returned to the old diner. Rick Doyle froze when she walked in. She sat at Arthur's seat by the window, ordered black coffee, left a $100 bill beneath the cup. Outside, New York moved endlessly, loud, indifferent, alive. Emma realized revenge hadn't healed her. Kindness had. Arthur hadn't saved her with money. He had shown her who she already was. She stood, leaving quietly, unnoticed by most, but not invisible anymore.